Alright, what's up guys? Sean here, and today I'm going to be talking about my Super 17 deck that I played in my second round for Rising Phoenix Odyssey's YouTube tournament. And yeah, gonna hop right into it here. Starting with the leader card on the front side, 10,000 power. When you attack, you can discard an android in your hand and draw 2, and you awaken at 4 or less life, or when you have a yellow unison with a specified cost of 2. The Awaken draws you a card, you switch 1 energy to active, and if you're awakening above 60 life, you take life until you go to 6. On your backside, on your swing, you draw 1 card and gain 2,000 power for each card under your battle cards, and this can actually snowball pretty quickly. Oftentimes, once it gets to like turn 3, turn 4 or later, your leader can swing for like 25, 30,000, some pretty big numbers. You've also got 2 other skills on here. You got an Activate main to choose a Super 17 in your battle area and then put a Hellfighter 17 or Android 17 from your drop under it. This helps you stack up cards for that auto skill and for a couple of other skills, such as the Activate Battle. Once per turn, you can Spirit Boost, and then you Spirit Boost 1, and then choose a Super 17 in your battle area, put 3 cards from under it into the owner's drop, and then you can rest one of your opponent's battle and unison cards, which is very strong defensively, but also helps offensively, just tapping down blockers and such, or triggering the auto skill on your unison here. Android 20 and Dr. Mew at 4 is the only unison we play in the main deck, but it's really the only one you want to be playing. The +1 skill, you draw 1 and then discard a card. Just really nice, helping you cycle, and you do interact with your drop area a lot in this deck. So setting up your drop is very helpful for you, and it just is very nice to be doing that every turn, especially after you awaken. Having another discard outlet is super nice. The -2 lets you pick up basically just your 5-drop Super 17. It's the only real target for that. You've also got 2 other autos on here. Once during your turn, if you activate Evolve or Union, you get to add a marker to this guy. So he actually gets added, he's a +2 unison on most turns, actually, since you want to be activating Evolve or Union pretty much every turn. So it ends up being very difficult to kill this guy just because of the nature of the fact that this is a yellow deck. You have a lot of defensive options, and he's going to stack markers up very quickly. The second auto is when you Spirit Boost off this guy during your turn, you can KO one of your opponent's rested battle cards through Barrier, which is really nice. Being able to activate like the Spirit Boost off of your leader and tap down 2 cards and then kill something. It's just really nice to help clean up your opponent's board, get a problem card out of the way. Getting into the engine of the deck, we've got 4 each of the Android 17 and Hellfighter 17 conceding to Union. The Android 17 has Barrier, Hellfighter is a blocker, and then they both have Union Absorb. They can absorb the other one, so if it's Hellfighter, you absorb Android 17. If you're Android 17, you absorb Hellfighter. You can absorb from your hand or drop area, and then play a mono yellow Super 17 with a cost of 3 from your deck or drop. This is part of why setting up your drop area is so important. You never really want a Union from hand, just because that's -1 to your hand size. So you want to be discarding something off of one of your draw effects, and then absorbing the card you discarded, just to keep your hand size up, and then go into your 3-drop. 4 each, just for consistency's sake. You ideally want to do the Union effect on turn 1 if you can, and being able to repeat it several times over the course of the game is important. We've also got 3 Hellfighter 17 Mechanical Charity. I don't often play this card just because if you're spending 1, you probably want to be activating Union or going up your Evolve chain, but just being able to play this and search top 5 for a mono yellow Android, cost 5 or less, or the Unison is really nice. In cases where you don't see the Unison, being able to look for it turn 1 off of this guy is pretty nice. But again, only 3 because you'd rather be playing a Union card. It's just nice to have the extra Hellfighters in your deck for that. I also play 2 Android 17, Titan Toppler. I'm not even really going to talk about this card. You just need a yellow Android 17. I'm replacing this with the one from the new Championship pack as soon as I get those in. But I will be playing 2 of those once I have them, so that's why this card's in here at 2. Talking about the Super 17 chain, 4 copies of all of them. The 3-drop, it's a barrier. You draw 1 when you play it off of a Union skill, which is really nice, just helping you see more cards. And then he's got an activate main at limit 1s. You can only do it once every turn. You discard this and another android in your hand, and then you search the top 7 cards of your deck for 2 yellow androids cost 5 or less. So this is a 1-card way to set up your drop area, even on turn 1 if you're not attacking, to discard a card off your leader's front side. You can set up a Union play with this and then see 2 new cards. So you get to filter through your deck really quickly, start seeing all your pieces and making all your plays happen pretty consistently right from the start with this card. It's very good. And then just being able to sit there with a barrier with a couple cards under this, and then you can keep stacking cards under it to make your leader swings really big. Just all around a pretty solid card. The 5 cost EX evolves for 1 yellow on the 3-drop. It's a deflect and dual attack at 19,000 power, so it puts on some pretty decent pressure just on its own. Both of his autos are pretty strong too. First one, on play, you get to absorb one of your opponent's cards, cost 4 or less, that's in rest mode, and then draw 1. That's putting another card under him. Having cards under your Super 17s is always really important, and taking something off your opponent's field, also really nice, and we're not going to complain about the card draw either. And if this card gets KO'd by a skill, you just get to play the 3-drop back to the field. So even though he's got dual attack, you probably only want to swing with this once to make sure you can go into the 8-drop. But if it happens to get popped, you're not really too far out as far as investment goes, because he plays the 3-drop back in the use and can pick this card right back up if you don't have one in your hand. So it makes going up your evolve chain very low investment, which is very nice. And then we've got 3 copies of the 8-drop. I lied. This is not a 4 of. This shouldn't be a 4 of. That's a little too clunky. But deflect triple strike, very scary to see on an 8 cost. There's not much your opponent can do to counterplay this. It EX evolves for 2 energy once you're at energy of 4 or more. So you do have to wait until turn 4 for this card, but it's worth the wait. 25,000 triple strike is nothing to laugh at. And the activate main lets you put 3 cards from under it into the owner's drop areas to switch this and your leader card back to active mode. And then this card gains 1,000 power for every energy cost in the cards under it. And you eat one of your opponent's rested battle cards. So say you put a bunch of your 1-drops from under this guy into your drop area. He's gaining 3,000 from having the 3-drop under him, 5,000 from having the 5-drop under him, and then power from any other cards you might have stacked under there, any of your opponent's battle cards that you ate with that skill or the 5-drop skill. I've had this card as high as like 49,000 on the second swing before, and that's a lot to have your opponent answer. So this card's very good at closing out games if your opponent doesn't have an immediate out to it. As another boss monster for the deck, we've got one Son Goku Return of the Dragon Fist. I really like this card as an alternative to the 8-drop, especially against green. It's deflect double strike, and when you play it, you get to KO 2 of your opponent's rested battle cards. That's really nice, just being able to clean up their board a little bit. It gets played for 3 yellow if you're at 4 or more energy and you have a unison in play. You're always going to have your unison, so on turn 4 you basically just decide, are you playing this or are you playing your 8-drop Super 17, depending on the game state and the matchup. And then the activate main Spirit Boost 2 to give its dual attack, and then your opponent can't activate battle card skills on cost 7 or less when this card's battling. That's a really great skill. Just being able to turn off their super combos, turn off anything else like some kind of arrival that might be able to blow this guy up. Just makes your opponent's life a lot harder. And then spirit boosting on your turn is going to trigger your unison skill to blow something else up through a barrier, which is also really nice. So I just really like this card, but it's only at 1 because you do want to be playing a higher count of the or the Super 17 A drop. This is just a very strong alternative to have. And you see so many cards that you're almost always going to find the one of this anyway. Going through some other cards for the as far as our extra cards go, we do have a bunch of extra cards in the deck. To Awakened Attack, this card is situationally better or situationally worse than something like a Champa or a East Kai. It gives double strike if you have at least 3 cards under your battle cards, and it also gives you plus 2,000 power on one of your leader or battle cards for every card under your battle cards. So it's like the leader's auto to buff himself happening a second time on the leader or just on something else. And because you can stack so many cards under your board, this can easily be like a plus 16,000 in double strike for 1 energy. You can also activate it for free by putting 1 card from under one of your battle cards in the drop area. So you can also use this defensively just to out combo something, but it is really, really good for just pushing a double strike in when you need to. I think 2 is a fine ratio on it, given all the other extra cards in the list. We're playing 2 Vegeta's Final Flash. The skill negation is really why we're playing this, but plus 15,000 power is also really good. And it is another extra card to facilitate Mecha Frieza Robotic Riposte. This is our floodgate of choice, mostly because Nimbus doesn't feel as great a lot of times with Unisons being in the format. So just being able to pay 1, ideally, board this guy, and then make your opponent tap something every time they want to swing for the rest of the turn, it feels really good. This is why I'm playing like 9 extra cards, I want to say, in the list, just to make sure you have 2 of them either charged or in your drop area as quick as possible to make sure that this card's floodgate is online for 1 energy. The other extra cards we're using to make that work, we've got 4 power of a Super Saiyan. This card's so good for yellow. It's a negate for 1 energy, which does come up. It's really good to have, but usually you want to be using its free activate battle skill. If you have at least one yellow energy in active mode, you can just play this card for free, rest one of your opponent's battle or unison cards, and then draw, which feels great both offensively and defensively if you want to tap down a blocker or tap down one of your opponent's attackers and then cycle a card. Overall, just a ton of advantage off this card whenever you play it. And our last extra card is 2 copies of Frieza's Army Reinforcement, being able to negate at the cost of 1 life and then play a blocker. Super strong defensively. I think the whole lineup of these blocker generating negates from the Battle Evolution Booster are very good. Going through the rest of the list, the super combo spread, we've got 2 Android 17 Mechanical Charity. This is just because it's searchable off of the 1-drop Hellfighter and your 3-drop Super 17. Because you can awaken above 4 life, sometimes you do have to wait until kind of late in the game for the super combo to be live. But I think the trade-off of being able to search for this card makes it worth it. And our other 2 super combos are Zamasu Sacred Disbelief, just because it's so strong. Being able to combo for 10,000 and then rest one of your opponent's battle or leader cards is really good. Just helps you stay alive a lot longer, which is great because you need to be at least turn 4 to drop any of your big threats and try and end the game. We've also got 1 Poutine, the Dark Sorcerer. There's a lot of effects in this deck that'll rest your opponent's cards, letting you free play it, and then you've got another way to rest your opponent's cards. It It's only at one because space in this list is kind of tight. It's 53 cards, but like I said, you cycle so much with this deck and you draw so much, you don't really have too hard of a time finding the one of, and it honestly doesn't hurt too much if you don't, at least in my opinion. So what one feels fine here. We're also playing one of the counter cooler. This is just for late game. Because all of our finishers are rather energy intensive, this card doesn't come up a ton unless we're trying to push early with something like Awakened Attack for a double strike for game. But I do think it's nice to have for the longer matchups. I think I've covered everything in the main except for my secret rare of choice, which is Sin's Shenron, Corrupted by the Darkness. I don't have Xenocell, but I do think this feels better because you don't really want to successor off your board and lose all the cards you've stacked under your 17s. And honestly, this card's just very underrated. It combos for 1 energy, and then you can play it for 1 more energy at the end of the battle where it was comboed. And when it comes in, you rest your opponent's battle, leader, and unison cards, ignoring barrier, up to the number of energy they have charged. So if you combo this at the right time, you can just end your opponent's turn. I think that's a very strong defensive capability that this card provides. And again, just because this deck wants to live until like turn 4 or turn 5 before it's going to try and end the game, having just 1 more way to try and make sure you live that long, I think is worth it enough. It's also a blocker once it does hit the board, so if you can't tap your opponent's entire field down off of this, you're still going to be able to out at least 1 more attack without committing any more energy. And then he's also got an Activate main to pay 4 to become a double strike dual attacker. At 40,000 power, this is just another way that you can try and end the game if going into the 8-drop Super 17 or your Dragon Fist Goku isn't really a viable option. So just having another alternative there is also very good in my opinion, and I've won several games off of this card, so I do definitely think it's worth playing here. Going into the side, 2 Time Magic, just because there's a lot of big cards that can attack multiple times in the format. Jiren's 8 cost is really scary if they activate that. This is relevant in the mirror match. This is relevant against King Cold's Golden Frieza. The Bojack 8-drop, the Bojack 4-drop even. Just there's a lot of cards that this can be good against, and it does get sided in pretty often. We've also got 2 Flying Nimbus just as an additional floodgate against aggro decks if I think I need it. This card comes in. The Mecha Frieza is better most of the time, but I do like having this option. 3 Chi-Chis for the blue matchup, just being able to punish them untapping energy with their counters always feels really good. And I do have a lot of blue players locally, so it feels like a must, in my opinion. Second Cooler for the longer matchups, just making sure that you can close out a game when you need to. Second Poutine as well, in matchups where you think it's going to be better if your opponent's playing a lot of cards off skills and you might want to try and find this card sooner. Having the second one in the sideboard, I think, feels pretty fine. Also side a second Dragon Fist Goku. This is mostly for the green matchup. The 5-drop Super 17 can get KO'd with Charismatic Villain, but green can't really do anything to stop you from playing this card and attacking with it once. So that's why I say that this card feels exceptionally important in the green matchup. But there are some other instances where I do think you just side this card in because it's a good finisher. I also side 1 SS Trunks Altering the Future. Just the -3 effect to draw 1 and then KO all your opponent's rested battle cards feels really good in matchups where your opponent goes wide, being able to swing twice and then wipe their whole board for 3 energy. It feels really good, and at 1, you're going to see it as often as you want to because generally you do want your Android 20 and Dr. Mew Unison on board. Just having the option to go into this and clear out a bunch of cards is pretty nice as a one-of. And then the last four cards are honestly kind of just a fun package I wanted to include if I felt like it would come up. I've got two of the Tournament Pack Super 17, Relentless Absorption. You can successor this guy as a 3 cost for 1 green or 1 yellow, so you can just send one of your 3-drop Super 17s, the one in the main deck for this guy. And then Union Absorb, also for a green or a yellow, so you don't actually ever have to charge a green for this. If you're at least 4 energy, you can absorb a cell from your deck or drop. So we do side 1 cell just to be able to do that. You can absorb a cell from your deck or drop and then go into this guy from set 9. This card's crazy. The 3-drop does play it with its keyword skills negated for the turn, but you play it from deck or hand, so if you draw this card, you just gotta hold on to it, but there's only one, so ideally we don't draw into it. This card comes in with critical. Critical will be negated the turn you play it, but if it sticks on board, it's going to be a 30k crit every turn. And then when this card gets played, your opponent crits life until they're down to 4. So if you're against something that's super stally, or just something that awakens above 4 and then starts defending, you're able to put them at 4 without having to actually connect any attacks. You just have to make sure this card hits the board, which feels very good. And then his second auto, when he attacks, you draw 1 card and then rest 2 of your opponent's cards. It just has cards you can tap out their energy. You can tap a Unison if you want to, or just rest cards on their field so they can't block or combo with them. This card's super strong. Hasn't seen a ton of play since Surge format. I think it's been a bit too slow most of the time, but being able to play it for 2 energy investment off of this card on turn 4, it's really sick in the matchups where it does come up. So I do think it's worth siding, and it's honestly just really cool, and I had space in the sideboard. So overall, that's the list. I feel very comfortable with it as is. I think it's a ton of fun to play in the current format, and honestly has solid matchups against a lot of other decks right now. So I've been having a ton of fun with it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching.